It has really very little to do with consumer convenience, and it has everything to do with accumulating wealth and power. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gita Marie and we're going to talk about AI today. We've talked about it quite a few times. I'll link the other videos down below. Today's going to be a sit down, have a chat and yap. And mostly I just want to talk about what happens when green eco companies start using AI in their marketing strategy. That's a really interesting choice. So the reason why I decided to do this video was initially because I saw that Allbirds did the most unexpected pivot of 2026. And I don't say that lightly because a lot of shit has already happened and we're not even halfway through the year. So Allbirds, you might know, it's a shoe brand. If you like sustainable fashion or if you've dabbled in sustainable fashion, you might know them. They're one of the bigger shoe brands, I reckon. Now they're rebranding a little bit. So Allbirds is going to be known going forward as Allbirds AI. Yeah, I had that same reaction. I initially thought this was satire, but nope. It's absolutely real and I cannot get over it. So in an official filing to their investors, Allbirds have asked to remove the natural conservation and environmental protection mission from their overall brand ideology, mission statement, etc. Which means that, in good news for everyone else, you don't actually have to mean any of the crap you say about environmentalism. You can just choose to abandon it all, which is a big life hack. So what they're going to do, I saw someone have different takes on this, and a lot of people were saying, well, are they making AI shoes now? What does that even mean? So they're walking away from shoes, pun intended, altogether. And instead they're buying out high-powered GPUs, and then they're renting out the computer capacity to AI companies instead, which is a completely different thing to do. And apparently the main reason why this shift has happened in the first place is because Allbirds have had some financial struggles, and investing in any form of AI related technology is right now just a guaranteed gold mine because so many people are throwing so much money at this stuff. And I want to talk about that some more because I am waiting for the AI bubble to pop any day now, but I think there's going to be a while before we actually see that. But I'm hoping that it's going to pop. Are we sure that it's going to pop? Like many experts are pretty much in agreement that at some point we're going to see a burst because a lot of the money and a lot of the investments that's put into AI currently is put in based on speculation and what can happen with this technology in the future. And this reminds me of the first internet bubble. And this Guardian article does a really good job of comparing the AI boom to the previous 1999 internet boom. Many investors, both large-scale companies as well as ordinary people, are mistaken marketing for actual growth. And that's a problem. The bubble that lifted up the first internet, which inevitably crashed, is referred to as the dot-com boom. And when that bubble burst, approximately $1.7 trillion just vanished overnight. Allbirds is a little bit of an extreme case, but the reactions to this rebranding is a really good indicator of the public opinion when it comes to AI. Not necessarily the wider, larger demographics of consumers, but most consumers that value sustainability and transparency seems to have a lot to say about this, or seem to be very frustrated, which I definitely understand. And we see this not only with Allbirds, but with any company that places themselves in the sustainability, eco-friendly categories. Now, I obviously don't want to be naive. I assume at this point that the vast majority of companies use AI in a certain form. And I like to acknowledge that what I am generally talking about and going to talk about going forward in this video is the AI products that reach consumers. Is the AI marketing, it's AI voices, AI people, AI generated images or graphic design, music, video generation, all those things that reach consumers in marketing. But that is not all AI is, obviously. I think that might just simply scratch the surface of what AI can do, I assume, because from what I can hear from people working in offices, in commercial offices, these systems are being implemented and people are being asked to use them. So I assume that they're using them. And I don't necessarily think we're getting our panties in a twist over what happens in the office. What generates the negative feedback tends to be the AI products that reach consumers. So those are the ones that we're going to look at, obviously. And I recently saw a Reddit post about Pila. I decided to look into it because I saw some comments on my own videos talking about how Pila is now also using AI, and haven't been able to find a whole lot about it. But there is this Reddit post, and we're going to treat this Reddit post as a what? not a reliable source, obviously, because you can say anything you fucking want on Reddit, and don't believe anything you read online is true. So this is basically the only thing I've been able to find. But we're just gonna talk about it anyway. Okay, but take it with a grain of salt. A user on Reddit asked the CEO of Pila, why are they using AI in their marketing campaigns? They see the AI generated images on social media and just like, what is going on with that? What's happening? And Matt, the CEO for Pila, had a response that wasn't very apologetic, but instead seemed to double down on the fact that they are using AI, and the only reason that they're using it is because a company like theirs wouldn't survive if they didn't generate the amount of content and footage at the pace that they can only do with AI. So if they didn't use AI, they just wouldn't keep their lights on, essentially is what he's saying. And now you could say that I don't know jack shit about running a business the size of Pila, and I don't, so you would be correct in that assumption. But isn't it a matter of prioritizing your resources? Wouldn't you be able to create the same amount of content if you had a strategy where you involved like 2 or 3 artistic, visually inclined, effective people working in a creative field to create the same content? Wouldn't people be able to do this as effectively? I think they would. I think it's a matter of economic resources and wanting to or not wanting to spend the money hiring people to do this thing. There are many aspects where I think AI tools can be helpful. It's like a tool, right? Because it is a tool. It's like a hammer, and you can use it in good ways and you can use it in really bad ways. So in that regard, like, I don't want to necessarily demonize the whole industry and concept, the whole technology that is AI. It is here, it's going to stay here, but what we use it for, we need to be better and smarter and more critical, and we need to be aware of what we are replacing. So when we replace creative people with AI, not only are we taking jobs away from people in creative fields, which is frustrating, but AI doesn't create anything out of thin air. Every time you generate something using AI software, it builds the image you require based on something it already knows. That is the whole idea of the language learning model. It just takes things that it already knows and it puts something together in like this weird Frankenstein-ish manner. And we forget that sometimes. And I can see people on the internet definitely forgets it. That information, the art that it bases its own art on, came from somewhere, came from people that are now not being compensated, that are not being paid for their work, and where their work is being used to do something they have no control over. Artistically, this is a massive gray area of copyright infringement and overall infringement on creative products and rights. That is not only terrifying, it's also insulting. One of the arguments I see quite a lot when we talk about AI, right, is people were also skeptical of the calculator. So basically all this rage and frustration, all this energy we use on criticizing AI is just as ridiculous as when the calculator came out and people were criticizing that. And to a certain point, people that faced new innovations and technology where they weren't brought up with them tend to sometimes have a critical perspective on those things. People were skeptical of the refrigerator and of the freezer. People were skeptical of the radio. And I think it goes back to the ancient Greeks, who was so against the written word because the mind got numb and boring and you couldn't remember, and you had to remember his lessons and not write them down. Old ass people have always been critical of new things, and it is a very human condition to be frustrated with new things. The thing is, the calculator doesn't infringe on the entire foundation of the democratic process. So there is that. The calculator doesn't make up claims in sources that do not exist. The calculator doesn't misrepresent political figures or election results. Where there are a few similarities with the criticism towards AI and the criticism towards previous invention, to some extent I do agree that there are some similarities in the innate skepticism towards new technologies that has always been there. But that argument also just undermines how much power this kind of technology has, not only because of what it's able to do, but also because who owns it. Nearly 80% of the stock gains in 2025 are concentrated in just 7 companies: Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla, all of whom, by the way, are fighting for resources, materials, and control, software and infrastructure, all related to AI. We're talking about funding and supporting the people that control how we understand and see the world. There's so many ways I acknowledge acknowledge that AI can make our lives easier, but there are also so many ways where AI is being crammed into places where it simply just does not belong or where no one really asked for it. There are AI features that you manually have to go in and switch off, otherwise they will be turned on as a default. I recently learned this with YouTube, where they used an AI translation of my voice and dubbed all my videos in different languages, and I had to disconnect that on every single video where it had already happened. But you turn a bigger profit if you get people all over the world to watch videos. So recently a new feature was launched on TikTok that I know now in the EU at least has been rolled back because it goes directly against a lot of personal data laws. But essentially it meant that you had to go on to each individual one of your videos and turn a feature off if you didn't want TikTok to use that video for AI generation. You had to go in and individually fix it with every single one of your videos, and it worked retrospectively. So you had to do it since the very first video you published. Isn't that lovely? I feel like we have to give kudos to the marketing teams working for AI companies, because they have managed to sell these ideas and features in places where basically no one wants them. I also stumbled upon this study that connects AI and its benefits to green marketing, which I thought was really contradictory. By the way, in this study, at no point do they mention the environmental impact of AI. So I think that's pretty funny. I love when we're just using sustainability as this interest a certain demographic of consumer has. Like it's the same if you're interested in bicycling, or the same as you're interested in reading. You're interested in sustainability. And overall, this study suggests that AI can be an effective tool in terms of building a sustainable marketing strategy for personalized, green, sustainable marketing campaigns. Here's some key points that I wish studies like this would include, but alas, they do not. This report, released in 2025, warned that AI electricity demand, emissions, water use, and raw material needs are all rising so fast, and that AI data center electricity demand could be 11 times higher in 2030 unless governments intervene in a measurable way. The power and energy required for training these language learning models doubles approximately every 5th month. Also, AI and the growth of data centers are leading a very sharp increase in energy consumption overall. The global energy demand of data centers are around 487 terawatt hours, at least it was in 2023, because it's been expected to grow at least 16% every year. Again, wildly explosive. And the main driver in this increase is mainly AI processing power. These trends will lead to massive increases in greenhouse gas emissions, because the vast majority of data centers are still run on fossil fuels. Even when AI companies tell you that they're using renewable clean energy, when we look at the majority of data centers, that is simply not what's happening. And mind you, before this massive AI boom, it was expected that the internet and the emissions from data centers were roughly responsible for the same amount of carbon emissions as the airplane industry. But we're going up, up, up. It's our moment. According to the projections made here, data centers worldwide consumed 175 billion liters of water in 2023, and the water consumption is estimated to triple before 2030. Where's that water going to come from? A report from this year, backed by Beyond Fossil Fuels, made the greenwashing problem even clearer by finding that 74% of industry claims about AI's climate benefits were unproven, simply just vibes-based. This same technology is also corrupting our information system. Research from Proof News found that leading AI tools gave inaccurate, harmful, or incomplete answers to basic election questions more than half the time. And another study found the same thing about 27% of the time. And that leaves me to my final point. There are multiple reasons why AI and the boom that we're seeing in this technology pisses me off. Mostly it's due to the environmental implications, the water consumption, the energy consumption, the carbon emissions, the backing of fossil fuels. There's also the notion that this technology is used in warfare. These things should piss people off. And if it doesn't piss you off, at least it should put you off using a lot of these tools. The thing is, people are more disconnected than ever. There are so many things that worry us, that gives us anxiety. There's so many reasons to be scared and furious, from warfare and geopolitical unstable situations to elections being rigged and to our democracy falling apart. So what I'm seeing in my corner of social media is that people are so hungry for genuine, authentic experiences and stories. We want to connect with each other. We want to understand where other people are coming from. We want to have our own experiences reflected in others. We want to relate to other people. We are yearning for connecting with other people. And what we are given instead is this insulting AI rendering of human connection. And I think that is insulting. It's the opposite of what we need. It's like the fast food of human relationships. It's like empty calories, and it doesn't actually give us what it is that we need. It's interesting and fun, and it's a new tool, and we can generate songs and make art, or what vaguely barely resembles it without any of the soul inside. And I think a lot of people, and I think a lot of consumers, are using these products and these tools because it's fun and it's new. But I hope that we at some point meet a cultural saturation of this kind of technology where this is not giving us anything anymore. In the same way that we cannot base our entire diet of French fries, even though sometimes we kind of want to. No shame in French fries. But like, do you see what I mean? In many ways, I would actually go as far as to say that the AI tool in and of itself is not necessarily the problem, but the economic logic behind these investments are actually more so the culprit of the problems that we are seeing. When we reduce a lot of the incentives and motivations to create these massive platforms and language learning models, it has really very little to do with consumer convenience, and it has everything to do with accumulating wealth and power. But if we go back to 1999 once again and talk about the crash of the dot-com boom, many would argue that something good came out of the wreckage of the first internet, because from that we could build another system, another way of looking at this technology, something that then wasn't built on mere speculation, but built on actual lived experiences. So I don't know, maybe the AI bubble needs to crash in order for us to wake the fuck up and find better ways of using this technology. But while we're waiting for the hopefully inevitable demise of the AI bubble, a new ick has been unlocked on my end, and it has to do with sustainable, eco-green brands that are using or embracing AI as a part of their marketing strategy. I don't want to see it. I believe that if you're trying to appeal to a demographic of consumers that value sustainability, the AI is doing you more harm than good. With the rise of AI, we're also seeing the rise of skepticism related to it. The criticism is growing. I think it is doing your own business a massive disservice. But that's just on my end. And when the bubble crashes and we get to a better point, hopefully, it's spring, I'm optimistic and motivated and encouraged. What do you want me to say? I hope we get to a point where we can use AI as a tool when it makes sense and not as a default option for every single task that we as human beings are facing. Because while there's a lot of stuff that we leave out or that we free ourselves from, there are a lot of tasks that are annoying and frustrating and we don't want to do it, but we also cheat ourselves. We remove the opportunity for ourselves to develop skills and critical thinking and media literacy. And these aspects are, believe it or not, incredibly important for our human experience, especially on social media, but in any situation really. So with that being said, that is everything that I wanted to say. I hope that you liked this video. This was a very nothing video, but I just wanted to talk about this some more with you guys because I think it's deeply interesting. Let me know what you think down below. And ultimately, what I want to know from you guys is, would it be a deal breaker for you to see a green company using AI in their marketing? Let me know down below. Let's put together a little survey, shall we? Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and I will see you guys next time. Take really good care of yourselves. Until then, bye.